Well, with season 4 coming to a close, I figured I'd better review the first 3 seasons of the greatest television saga of all time, starting with season 1. I'm not going over every individual episode, just the seasons as a whole. I will also not rate the first 3 seasons as they are utter perfection. Now, as someone who didn't read the books, I didn't know what to expect from the show. It looked like just your average fantasy, but I was dead wrong. This show is brilliant, easily among the best fantasies of all time, if not the best. Season 1, right away, you see the harshness of this world. One of the first things you see is the aftermath of a White Walker attack. White Walkers are kind of like the zombies from The Walking Dead if they lived on Hoth. Anyway, we see a deserter of the Night's Watch, who are kind of like the protectors of the realm, beheaded by Ned Stark. Ned Stark is awesome, one of the coolest dads in television history. Most of his family's honestly pretty cool. Jon Snow, a member of the Night's Watch, is kind of mopey, but still awesome. Robb Stark is badass, as is Arya, who's easily one of my favorite characters on the show. Let's not mention Sansa and Bran, though. Anyway, we see that King Robert Baratheon has traveled to the Stark's home of Winterfell to ask Ned Stark if he will be handed the king. Robert travels with Cersei and Jaime Lannister, who have an incestuous relationship. Ew. One of Ned's sons, Bran, actually witnesses them fucking, and Jaime pushes the kid out of a window, crippling him. For the rest of the season, Bran is basically in bed. He does a couple things. He has a few weird dreams, but nothing really important. Back to the Lannisters, though. Cersei has a son named Joffrey, who is straight up the biggest fictional douche of all time. The dude has a direwolf killed because Arya made him look like a pussy. Another Lannister is Tyrion Lannister, who's fucking awesome. He isn't as important to the first season you might think. He really just kind of talks with Jon Snow and Rise and Hill Tribes. Other than that, he doesn't do much. But he's still fucking cool. Anyway, Ned says yes and goes to King's Landing, which is a really interesting city. In my opinion, the best stuff is always going on in King's Landing. Meanwhile, across the sea, we see female Jesus herself, Daenerys Targaryen, and her brother Albino Loki. She has a very interesting story. Her family was exiled after Robert usurped the throne. She marries this dude named Drago, who is a Khal. He's a male leader of the Dothraki. The Dothraki are basically the Klingons of Westeros, just barbaric and such. First, Daenerys is pretty timid, but eventually she finds her voice and becomes a worthy Khaleesi. Hell, Drago even kills Albino Loki by dumping melted gold on his head. Sadly, her relationship with Drago does not last. He gets a wound, and in an attempt to save him, Daenerys has this chick use blood magic, which leaves him in a comatose state. Sad, because that dude was pretty cool, but it does kind of work out for Daenerys. She gets, the Dothraki and 3 dragons, which, holy shit, that's cool. Back to King's Landing, things don't really work out, as Robert is killed during a hunting trip, which makes Joffrey McDickhead king, and then Ned finds out Joffrey is not quite who he seems. He was still a fucking asshole, but he's not a Baratheon. He's the product of Jaime and Cersei's incest. I gotta say one thing about Jaime. He may be fucking his sister, he may have crippled a kid, but he is still awesome. Seriously, the Kingslayer rules. He's so smug and cool, but that doesn't stop him from being captured by Robb, who is now on the warpath. Why, you ask? Nah, no reason. Just King Dickface beheaded his dad. Oh, you heard right. Ned is beheaded by Joffrey for knowing too much. Arya flees the city, but Sansa doesn't quite get away. Joffrey forces her to look at Ned's head on a stick. Seriously, that's fucking awful. But with that, season 1 comes to a close. Now, it's not quite as good as the show is going to get later, but it's still a solid intro to the fascinating world of Game of Thrones. T.1, signing out.